Hello, everyone. It's 1 o'clock. Let's do this thing. So I want to do a poll before we jump in. How many people is this their first Unite? Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Look at all these new people. So I'm cleaning some smooge off my glasses right now. My name is Myhill. I'm creative director at Made with Unity. And Made with Unity is a group inside Unity where we work with and celebrate all the cool stuff that's being done in Unity, and there's a lot of cool stuff that's being done to celebrate. And we also work with the R&D teams and the product teams on new features and new technology and like new verticals. And this is one of them. And this is the automotive vertical. And I'm going to show you a bunch of new rendering capabilities in Unity, some new cinematic stuff, post effects, all sorts of goodies in there. So let's jump in. So here's how it started. About 6 months ago, when the new HDRP renderer came out, two of us, myself and someone else, made an automotive teaser video after work one day. We started at 6 and we were having fun and we stayed till like midnight. And a lot of people thought like it took forever and it was really hard, and it actually was really straightforward. So then we challenged ourselves to make this, which is a video which I'll show in a second. And we did this in like 3.5 days with a small group of people. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to like pretend to do a car commercial. So it didn't have a customer or a home. We're just like, let's pretend to make a car commercial. So let's watch it. Thank you. There were a few late nights in the 3 days. But to prove it's real, here it is. I'm running this off a pretty beefy laptop, but it is a laptop. It's got a GeForce 1080 in it. And this is vanilla Unity. There's no special builds. And we used two things which were an addition to Unity. So you can find them right here. So we have this new thing called the Package Manager. And this is a really good idea. And what it does is, instead of having to make Unity this giant program that has every single thing in it, bits and pieces can be broken off and added on the side, and you can bring them a la carte. So if you're doing a 2D game, you're going to need different stuff than if you're going to do like a prototype car commercial like this. So we added two things: Cinemachine, which is a procedural camera system, and the HD render pipeline, which is our new render system. You'll also hear it called HDRP, or scriptable render pipeline. This is a brand new render, and it's come out this year, and you'll see it's beautiful. So I got how many new hands are new at Unite here, which is great. How many people use Unity, or I've got a reasonably good understanding of it? Okay, so most of the group. So you'll be familiar with the way this looks. This is Timeline down here, which we released last year. It's a way of orchestrating things. And here's how we set it up. We went to the asset store and we typed in, we wanted to end with a forest because we knew that was Book of the Dead. So this was a tech test that we did recently, which is this beautiful forest environment. And we loaded that in, and we bought a city, and we got the mountains, all the different little scenes that you got, and we just pulled it in off the asset store. So that's how we got the environments. The car we got from Toyota, which is a really beautiful car model, and we got to work. So watch how this goes. So we knew we didn't have a lot of time, so we didn't spend a lot of time on the animation, which is why the car basically drives straight. So you can see here, we threw the car in the world. And you can see they've got a bunch of cameras, and this is a dolly track, and I'll get into that in a sec, and it goes towards the sunset. Or does it? Because it's so easy to change your mind about environments. We've got this real-time reflection probe that's going on the car, and we've got all these different, I downloaded these off the internet. These are just like free HDRI images. And I don't know how many of you worked in film. I did for a few years. You don't have to get up before sunrise and trailer your car somewhere. You just, which one looks good? Okay, let's use this guy. So these are just free HDRI images. You can see it's working on the car, on the reflections. And it's not adjusting all the lighting, but it's adjusting some of it. And then the car is using our new auto shaders. And you can see that they're, I'll just select the car shader. And we have a number of new car shaders. This one's car paint. We even have one that's slightly more advanced than this. And it has all your typical car paint controls. And in the power of a real-time engine, let's make the car red. Okay, it's red. And now it's red for the entire show. Or whatever you want. And this, I mean, part of this whole real-time engine changing these new verticals is like you don't have to do the certain types of creative decisions in certain places. You can get right to the very end and then be like, no, make it morning, not sunset, and everything changes, and it might be okay. Sure, you might have to tune a few things, but you get the spirit of it. So then we got this car zooming down the road, and then we're like, okay, let's block in some shots. So these guys down here are Cinemachine camera clips. And one more poll. Who knows what Cinemachine is? A couple people. Okay, that's great. So the reason we built this thing is because in the real world, there's a relationship between the camera and the subject, right? You look through the lens, you see the thing. And if the thing moves again, you frame it. You're a camera operator, you're a human, you're doing something. But in CG, there's no relationship between the camera and the subject. And if there is, it's usually just like a hard constraint and it looks terrible. So if something changes, your cameras break. And I've been a camera artist for many years, and I'd spend hours keyframing a scene only to have an animator come in, change the speed of something, and then you get in the next day and you're looking at the sky because the guy's in a different spot, and you gotta start all over again or massage all these keyframes. And I thought that was stupid. That was not a great way of working. So we've got this camera system where you can tell it to look at things and where to compose them. And if stuff changes, you still get the shot. So if you look at this bit right here, and we got a few ideas that are going on at once. We have a camera that's going down this dolly track. See this dolly track here? And as time goes by, that camera is going down that dolly. And we're composing on the logo of the car. And I can see that because if I click the clip and I say, what am I looking at? I'm looking at the hood. So I'll just focus on that. There's the hood. So now the camera is going to look at this thing no matter what that thing does. So let's play this little clip a bit. You can see that it actually moves on the screen a little bit, and there's some handheld noise. So I'm going to turn all that off, and we're going to break this down, because this is a super fast way to work. So I'm just going to turn the noise off. I'm going to open this up. So in timeline, we're keyframing the composition. And what I mean by that is these curves, this is X and this is Y, this is where that logo lives on the screen. So if you look and I drag these keyframes, I can say, be in the center, be in the right, be higher, be lower. So when that shot happens, I don't know, maybe we don't want to get to the center of the frame. Maybe we want to move it down here and have it be over here. This is terrible, but you see where I'm going. So over the course of that shot, or hey, let's have it move all the way over to the right side during that shot. Again, this is horrible. So then if you change the speed of the car, you're still going to get that shot. So we're animating procedural composition of something. And that is an idea that might take a sec to sink in because it's different. It's a pretty different way of working, but it's so fast. And I'm going to show you some cases of that. Now, handheld noise and human movement, that's a really complicated thing too, and it sucks to keyframe. So we built a system to help you with that. And it's called this noise system. And it's a multi-channel Perlin noise, and it looks like this. So if I go in and edit, I can hit animate. I'm blending, this is just a particular noise profile. You can make as many as you want. I've got one where I'm blending some rotational noise. So I've got 3 different frequency modifiers just on X, 3 on Y, 3 on Z, and they all sum up to do this. And this is just a preview of what this noise looks like. There's no keyframes. It's just a noise algorithm. And we slang or we pipe that noise algorithm onto the camera, so you get this. You now got some like a little bit of weight to the shot. Well, the composition's terrible. This is good. I'm demoing this. Like, let's fix that. And I mean, for giggles, I'll go too far just to prove that it's going. I'm going to take the amplitude down. This is an overall control. Let's do like 3. This is going to be silly. We've got like a very caffeinated cameraman right now. And for the camera artists in the audience, you may understand how much time this saves when you're blocking this in. It adds a lot of weight and life to your shot. Okay, so the next bit in getting things to look real is emulating lenses, glass, post effects, depth of field controls, and all those kinds of things. So I'm going to just jump forward. I'll just get a little bit further. It's a little bit heavy because we're loading and hiding each scene at this time. Okay, so here's a shot. So we do a lot of lens emulation. So if you look at this, we have the lens, and we can just, whatever we want. And then I went really crazy on the depth of field, probably a little too far. And we have this offset control. So this is like your rack focus. You can keyframe all of this stuff. And we have all the lens emulation effects. Like, so see this, there's a little speck hit here. Why don't we, everybody loves Bloom. J.J. Abrams is alive and well. And there we go. We've now got, you can tune that shot to get that look that you'd like. And then I want to jump to the end and show you how fast this is to work. So here we've got this shot. The car rolls in. I'm going to do this and select this. Okay, so you can see the world here. And what's so amazing about being able to do all of this, is a bit of an obnoxious statement, but we say we have every department in your fingertips. And what that means is at any point you can go, camera, framing, I want to recompose this shot, maybe have it come in, whatever you'd like. And then you could be like, this tree right here is driving me crazy. Let's just move that over. And since we've got no rendering, it's all rendering right now. Like there's no render farm. There's no, we'll wait until post. There's no, okay, we'll set that. We'll submit it to the farm. You just do it. Shadows, like look at that. It all works. So when it comes to color grading is often done at the end of the process, right? And you do it to all your shots, and it's this like really, can be a pretty time-consuming process. And we didn't want it to work that way. We wanted that to be something you can do right at the start. So I'm going to show you 2 ideas at once. Here's a clip. This is a Cinemachine shot. This is the frame that we want. That's great. And then you can see as we go over, we cut. And we cut to this other shot. And I'm going to select this one and just move this closer. We're going to do something like this. Get a little blurry stuff in the foreground. Okay? So you all with me? We're here. We cut, and you can see here's the camera here. Here's the camera here. We're cutting between those two shots. I'll turn these guides off just so it's a little bit clearer to see. Okay, so the car drives in. It lands. Cool. Let's cut in for a close shot. Doosh. Great. Then your director says, no, let's make that a push in. We don't cut. Let's push that shot in. Okay, well, I guess we can keyframe that. Well, or you just do this. And see these clips? These clips can overlap. And when they overlap, we blend everything inside. So not just the camera position, we blend everything. And you'll see, look what happens now. Guy drives in, we get into the clips, and we do a slow ease in from camera A to camera B. And he says, no, have it come in sooner. And you get where I'm going. You can deal with directors who can't make their minds up rapidly. You can see the cameras transitioning from point A to point B, and all of that math and everything's happening, and you can adjust the curves of how this goes. I just can double click this and change how those two clips blend together. But we don't just blend the cameras, we actually blend everything in it. So we've got this full color grading suite, which is here. And for anyone who uses DaVinci Resolve, which is a very popular color grading program, we've emulated a lot of those controls. So you can see we've got this shot, and watch what I can do here. You can be like, well, let's make the blue sky bluer. So I've got hue versus saturation. Oops, hue versus saturation. Come here, hue versus that. And we're going to make the shadows a little cooler. It's a bit Instagram-y filtery now, but bear with me. And we're going to make it look a little bit warmer. And I don't know, let's crush the blacks just a bit more. Okay, cool. Actually, that's too far. Somewhere in here. I don't know, noodle, it's fun to play around. And now we blend the color grading between those shots. So everything that's on that shot lives with that shot, including the color grading. That was subtle. Let's go too far. Let's go like, we'll put some huge flares on there. Okay, this is stupid. Or is it stupid? I mean, now it's all pretty, and the flare comes up, and the shot goes, and everybody's happy. And then, because this is all living on the camera, you can do this really, the clip goes, you can move the clips around. That color grading information lives right here on that shot. So, and all the lens stuff too. I'm gonna just do one more to exaggerate it because it's fun. We've been watching a lot of Hitchcock films. This is totally obnoxious. Let's make it long so we'll maximize the painfulness of this effect. But everything blends. We're doing a huge Hitchcock Zolly on that thing now. And I can't stress how fast this is to work because your shot, your color grading, your look lives on this little clip. So I'm going to just make a new one. Like, let's just do something really new. Because it's one thing, you're probably like, oh, it's all set up on there. It's really, you've done a whole bunch of work already. But we'll just make a new one. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to create a new virtual camera. And I'm going to have it look like this. Here it is right here. I'm going to drag it into timeline. And I'm going to have it look through, I don't know, over top, somewhere down here. I'm going to select it. Okay. Let's move all this idea up here. So we've got this new virtual camera. And you can see it looks pretty nasty because there's no post effects, there's no, so we're going to just take all that post-processing. I'm going to just take the same clip that was on the previous one. So those clips that it's blending, these are just profiles. They're just different looks. So I'm going to just take this one and put, I don't know, this one on there, that was too blurry. You can create all these different looks. Focus tracks target, and I'm going to look at the center point of the car. So let's pick the car here. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to just look at the car. Where's my guy? One sec. Can't target hood. I'm just going to take this and look at it. Come here. We got some problem here going on. Okay, we're going to offset the focus. And we'll bring the exposure down. And you get where I'm going with this. And you just made a new shot. And we cut over to the shot, bam. Or again, you can just overlap this, and this will be crazy. And you can just start to block all these ideas, and putting an idea in, and moving on. Okay. So we're going to go over here. I'm going to show you another part. Unlike on a film set, we have unlimited dolly track. So to show you this shot here, we created this thing called dolly track and have animated the camera down it and have told the camera to look at the car. I'll turn that on again. And like on the previous one, we've got keyframes on that motion. You can see this plus here, that's where the car is composed, and as it moves over, we've keyframed that move. And this is a bit that I'd like to really resonate with you, because this is a huge time savings. If this car changes, it's going a little bit slow right now. I'm going to speed this car up. And this is the animation track for the car. So if I just hold shift and pull this over, we can actually make the car go faster. So maybe I should make it so we just, oh, a little too close. So that shot still works because we're dynamically composing it, even if it's moving at a different speed. Just for example, I could go way slower. And I mean, it's still going to move it to that side of the frame. He's not in the right spot, but the cameras are, you've told them how to shoot it, so they're going to do it even if things go in a different way. And that's part of the different types of creative input at different stages. Like, you don't need to lock down your cameras, then do animation, then do edit, then do color grading, and do it in this really sequential way. You can just be like, well, what if we just did this? And I'm going to make another track here. And what if we just cut to like a shot of the end? See this track? I'm just going to mute and unhide and hide these tracks. We sort from the bottom up, and I know that's different than editing programs where we'll have a button that toggles it, but it's a long story. I won't get into why that was like that. So the clips on the bottom will take precedence. So you can see, like, during this little bit here, we can say like, well, no, let's cut to a shot that's here, and you can just try out these different ideas and work on these edits, and these shots work anywhere, even though the car is driving a completely different way, because the cameras know how to deal with it. So I can even show you, I've moved this clip way back here, and they're still gonna get you something. Okay, how are we for time right now? Good, we got about 10 more minutes. Right, so moving on, we're going to look at here we go, and let's change this. So, shader changes, it'll go through and completely propagate through the entire world, through every shot. You've now got a red car. You've got a red car that does the wipe, and everything's red. And this is, I just can't imagine going back to the old world where you have to make all these decisions and lock them down and then render them, and then you're stuck with it. So let's go to questions, because we've only got a few minutes left. Who's got some questions about any of this stuff? Is there anything you'd like to drill into a bit more? I mean, we've got an entire scene here with a bunch of different things. Yeah, question in the front.
Yeah, so I think it's useful and really nice. There is one thing that I see going on in here that I find in my projects that's so troubling. Aliasing. Is this on?
Great question. So the question was aliasing. So when we rendered this thing out, so I'm going to show you that right now. So out of all these tracks, there's a track in here called the recorder track. And this, I'm getting to your question. This is a great segue into it. So this recorder track is the way that you output frames. So when we did the auto video, we rendered it out at 4K, and we used temporal anti-aliasing, and then we downsampled it to 1920, standard HD. And that was done for a couple of reasons, because when you downsample, as you know, you get a little bit better aliasing, a little more micro contrast. And it was easy as this. You make a clip, and you say, I want to render during this section. And you can make multiple clips. So you can actually like, hey, I want to render 4K here. But then, here I want to render this thing out at, 2K or something. Or I don't want to render this section. So it's a nice way to manage sub-rendering, bits and ranges. And then you could say, let's render 8K, 5K, whatever. So rendering higher and downsampling improves the aliasing quite a bit. The other thing that helps is we have got a number of different aliasing methods, and I'm going to show them to you right now. And we have none, and it, as you can expect, looks pretty chunky. And then we have these two, which are like game anti-aliasing. They're very performant, so FX and SMAA, and they're not bad. Probably still pretty harsh to your eyes, especially if you're from a pre-rendered world. And then we have temporal anti-aliasing, and this is actually really smooth, but you don't see it unless you hit play or render it out, because the temporal anti-aliasing caches a number of frames and does a little jitter between them. So when I'm just like farting around in here, you don't get the full effect of it. So if we were to go back to the video and you looked at it, the aliasing is basically gone. And I'd say that, is it as good as a pre-rendered Gaussian 3x3 hour per frame aliasing? No. But the temporal plus a 4K and a downsample is pretty close, and at a fraction of the time. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah, question, hi. Yeah, so great question. So the lighting. So each scene has its own lighting. You can see that these are different scenes here for each different area in the world, like mountain, city, etc. So each level only had one dynamic light in it, and then the HDRI. So just to show that in action, you can see that all the shadows are real time, and they're all being done from the one light. And then the HDRI was giving reflections and an ambient. We also have on the vehicle, there's an additional set of real-time reflections, and I'm going to show that to you here. And it's a reflection probe. So see how this comes on? So we're working on real-time ray tracing. We actually have some really exciting stuff in that space. And that's, I think real-time ray tracing is going to be ubiquitous. The hardware is getting there. This will be like the last stage of raster rendering. It's super fast. I think it's going to go away like DVDs and those kinds of things. But to get to a real-time ray trace look in rasterization, we have this thing called the real-time reflection probe. And I put one in the car here. And basically what it does is it renders out a 360-degree image. You can see the little sphere down here. And that will update per frame. And it doesn't do it in edit mode, it does it in play, but every frame it will draw the entire world, and then you can use that as a shader input onto the reflection of the shader. So you can see here when it's off, we just have the HDR image, and when it's on, we've got everything in the scene. And these update, you've got a few different things, but you can update every frame or via scripting, and you can put tons of these in your world. We did a project with Disney Television Animation, and we had a few of these on the world for reflecting into their eyes and things like that. So you don't get the same level of, like refraction and things that you would in a real time, in a ray trace environment, but it's super fast, and it looks good for a lot of cases. Yeah, you got it. It's just literally a thing in the car, so I'm going to just show you here. It's just this little guy, and I put it under the car. Like here, I'll do something kind of silly. I'll move it over the car, and let's refresh it. And then you'll actually see that you'll get the car in it. So it's just taking a probe from wherever that position is. And if you put it appropriately in the hierarchy, you can get some really good ray traced effects. Quasi ray traced, not really, but looks pretty good. We've got 5 or 6 minutes. Hi, yeah, question.
So other plans to use real-time ray tracing for reflections?
Yeah, there are. So I can say that we're working really aggressively on it, and the way that it's implemented is, in my opinion, the most ideal way of implementing it into a game engine without saying too much more specifically about that, but it's done really well, and it will be a hybrid system. So you don't need to do the whole frame. You can just rasterize, the stuff that can be done cheaply, and ray trace the stuff that's expensive, and it'll combine the two together. So we have some demos. There might be some stuff here on the floor, but we'll have an announcement with that soon. It's cool. It's the future. Hi. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a great question. So we have a unity.com/learn is a good portal. And then, there's a lot of tutorials on YouTube, but the Learn page has got a number of things specifically for Auto 2, and we've got demo scenes and things you can download and some tutorials to walk you through it. It's a good start. I really wish we had, that's a huge problem. There's so many, people have so many different things that they'd like to create, so it'd be amazing to have videos specifically for each thing, but that's a good start. And then YouTube, it's amazing how many people share example stuff there. Yeah, hi. So this was like 4.5 people, and we did the whole thing in 3.5 days. And there were a couple of days on asset prep. So how it broke down is we had one person go to the asset store and pull all the assets down. Because the HDR, the new render pipeline, the HDRP render pipeline, is so new, the shaders don't all carry over. So we have a script to migrate them, but some of the assets, because they were built with a previous engine, needed a little bit of cleanup. So we spent a couple of days on that. And then we had myself who did lighting and cameras. And we had an engineer who was helping us with the shaders for the car paint, because at that point we were still developing them, they weren't finished. And we had Mark Sinkmars, the creative director of Unity brand, and him and I just worked on what the story was. So it was a really small team. And are you going to put this on TV as a Toyota car commercial? Probably not. But if you are Toyota wanting to dream up ideas for car commercials, this is pretty cool. You can get really close. And as the rendering advances, it's going to become indistinguishable from pre-rendered, especially with the real-time ray tracing. But the benefits of the environment of being able to work together and work this quickly is going to make traditional workflows, I believe, traditional workflows where you have each different department and render farms and all that's just going to go away. Ah, yes. Say that one more time. Are the algorithmic shaders the best app to use right now for the car materials? Yeah, so they definitely make some fantastic shaders. This one's our own, but I think we've been very inspired by them. And we also now have a whole suite of automotive shaders, which we're giving away for free. So on the package manager, you can find them on there, and it's like metal, glass paint. I think I got a couple more to show you. I'll go inside the car. But there's a whole bunch, and they're just a great place to start, and that's all included. Do we have any of the, oh, I don't think we do. This model from Toyota is crazy. It's got like every screw, and like you can press the buttons on the dash. And I mean, that's another thing that really needs to be said. It's not something we talk about that much, but this car is heavy. Like this is a super, what are our stats right now? So we got 14.5 million triangles in this scene. Like that's pretty big. And, you know, I mean, I've been in CG most of my life. I remember the first time loading 1 million polygons into Maya, and it was just like, and you know, what a time to be alive to have 14 million polys. I mean, let's just do something, I'm gonna do something silly. I haven't done this before, but just for giggles. Let's take the car and duplicate it. And duplicate it, and duplicate it, and go full screen, and like, it's crazy, right? So the performance isn't, I mean, for games, you still need to optimize to get to 60, but for this kind of stuff, like I wasn't caring about like how many polys a tree were. Like these trees are so heavy, and you're just like throwing them around like it's nothing. It just doesn't matter anymore. It's a great time to be, you know, because your limitations, your creativity, and your ideas, right? It's not about like pushing polygons or how big the textures are. I bet the textures on this tree are like 4K, you know, and we're just throwing them around like it's just. And then, you know, let's go back, and the whole thing, like that move even works. Like the cameras didn't even really slow down. Like it's crazy. Right? And how many polys have we got in the scene? 31 million polygons. Anyway, I mean, if you get too excited over that stuff, but that's cool. Any other questions? Yeah, hey, hi. Yeah. Yeah, great question. So so we support. It's called playable texture. You can put movies onto elements. And this timeline thing that I showed you, you can have multiple ones of these. So what you could do is you could have a timeline that has your movie clip on it, or a sequence of movie clips, and then you can trigger this timeline when you say, hit a button. So you can use timeline as a way to orchestrate things with, you know, a degree of interactivity. So, you know, maybe that is literally a device where you want someone to hit a button, you want to play a different movie, or if you just want to like sequence different movies playing on things to line up with animations or whatever. But this is how you can do it. We've had projects with timelines and timelines and timelines and branching and multiple timelines, and this isn't just like in an editing program where you've got the one. You can have buckets of these things all over the place. Just like another example is like, you know, birds flying around and the tree swaying in the wind. You can control that from one that you trigger right at the start, and that's just your like world animation timeline. Or it's a really, you know, modular way of working. But yes, back to your video question. You can play videos and put them on a movie clip and pipe them to any surface. Yeah, hi. Light probes. So baked lighting? Yeah, so of course, we still support completely baked lighting. Like if you wanted to bake light maps onto the surface, or if you wanted to bake light probes in the environment. We have a few light probes in this environment. And hit, you know, with the generate lighting button, and it puts probes in, and it gives you a more complex ambient and those kinds of things. So we have that in here. But the lighting in this scene mainly is the HDRI image, a really light probe bake, and then the real-time light, which is that single, you know, directional light. So we do still support light probes. I tend to really not do much, like, unless the environment doesn't change, but I don't really bake lighting into textures that much anymore. Just the HDRI, a light probe bake, and then however many real-time lights you'd like. I'm not sure if you've seen the Disney project we did called Baymax Dreams, and we did 3 short films that went onto Disney television, and it was all rendered in Unity. Same trick, 4K renders and downsample. And we did the same thing, just probes, HDRI, and real-time lighting. That's all we use. Great, hi, yes. Oh, yeah, so we did 2 things. I animated them at first and put it on timeline, and because we kept changing our mind about the car speed, that turned out to be a really silly idea. So we wrote a really simple script, and what the script does is it just looks at the speed, the translation of an object, which was the parent of the car, and we just figured out the diameter of the wheel, and then so whenever you move the car, which I might have kind of broken now because we've done so much goofy stuff, but whenever you move the car, the wheels just automatically rotate, and it was just a really simple little script. I'll see if I can find it here. And that's, I mean, that's one of the advantages of having like a game engine environment is you can really easily write scripts and little snippets of things to add motion or just other capabilities to your objects, because it's a, it's a fully, at its heart, it's a video game engine, and that's exactly what they're designed to do. I think I copied the car without the wheels. So is that the whole wheel? So I think it's, no. Come have a chat after, I can show you what it is. It's a script that's on one of these objects, and I didn't set that up. Rotation, yeah, so it's getting an animation from that script, and it's just a simple script that if you move the car, I haven't done this test, so we'll see, but I think if we move the car back and forth, the wheels will, no, that's not the one. I'll deconstruct this after if you're interested, but yeah, it's just a little tiny script to rotate the wheels. Anybody else? Hi, yeah.
How are you managing switching between different set files?
Great. So we have a track called set swap track. And that's this little guy right here. And what that does is have clips, and the clips point to a name. And then it does 2 things. It turns the scene on, and it activates the lighting on the scene. So you can see, if you look right here, when I go between those 2 clips, the 2 scenes are turning off and on. And that's just a really basic feature. We've got a few different ways of turning scenes on and off in timeline. I like this way the best because it also sets the lighting to be active, because the lighting bake lives at the scene level. So as you go between scenes, it's not just turning the scene on, because I can just do this. It's not just turning the scene off and on, but it's also setting the lighting to be set active scene, which bakes the lighting on. Are these 4 cars driving down that? Oh my God. Who got the 4 cars? Funny. Okay, I think we got time for one more question. Hi.
The same question I had about reflections, I have for refractions.
Right. So outside of ray tracing, we need to fake them. And we have some shaders which do fake them. There's also some known ways to fake it in the shader writing community, and people do their own thing. One of the shaders that comes in the automotive pack, maybe more than one, but at least one, has got a refractive control on it. The reality is you can fake it a bit. Thank you. But you can't fake it a ton, because we're not actually throwing rays through the glass that can bend and see things. So we're actually distorting the normal buffer, the frame buffer with the normals, and we're actually you get a little bit of refraction. I can't remember what the number is, but you can fake it a little bit. But to get like crazy refractions, if you want to go that far, you'd have to like write a custom shader or see if you can fake it or wait 20 minutes for real-time ray tracing. And by 20 minutes, I mean like next year sometime. Earlier next year than later, but yeah, it's next year. Was that it? Are we, you said one more question. What, last question? Who wants the last question? Nobody wants the last question. Oh yes, there we go.
Can you answer a question about the recorder aspect?
The recorder? Yeah, okay.
So it's kind of a two-part question.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, when you're working in the scene like this, you want everything to be nice and responsive.
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice to record with different settings, preferably to a down, even up to like 11 or 12. And if frame rate was dropped, it would still record the individual frames. Is that an option right now?
It is an option right now, and that's exactly what we did. So when you use the recorder track and you put a recorder clip on here, it will increment the frame. If you hit you can hit your frame rate, and then you hit constant, it will wait until that frame's done before it renders it.
Right, which is great, but what I mean is can you have your anti-aliasing to be able to be stronger when you're recording versus when you're playing back?
Oh, I get it. So like switching between,
Anything that would affect the performance, you have to be faster when you're working, but slower when you're recording.
that is something that is not supported right now, and it's a fantastic idea. Because you could just set everything to be low, and then when you go to recorder, go like, yo, use profile extra expensive. Yeah, that's a great idea. Unfortunately, that's not, I don't think it would be that hard to do because you would just be switching between the quality settings. So Unity has got the quality settings. I'm not sure if you messed with them.
Right, presumably you can do it with your own script.
You could do it with your own script, and you would just go to wherever it is, preferences, quality setting. No, it's not this one. But yeah, you know the ones. There's like, you can set those up. So I don't think it would be that hard to write your own script to do it, but we should just expose it. It's a great idea. We're out of time. Thank you guys. Thank you everybody for coming. Really appreciate it. Cheers.